Welcome back, guys, for our video series on little snippets of videos from my membership website, fromthefield.farm. Today, we're going to be talking about CSA programs, and you might wonder what a CSA is. It essentially is a box program where farmers sign up members and sell produce directly to the end consumer or user. And we're going to be talking about a couple different models in this video. But this video is about half of a video that is 32 minutes long. So you're going to get about 15 minutes of it here. We're going to talk about what a CSA is and one particular model that is really, really cool called a farm card. And so I'll get into it in the video. So if you like this stuff, go and check out fromthefield.farm. It's my membership website where I post long-form videos every week. Each week I post a featured video, which is anywhere from half an hour to an hour. And then I also post a Q&A podcast, which is often around an hour long. And then sometimes I post little subject videos that are sometimes like little edits of the featured video so that people can search one specific thing, or sometimes they're just independent videos on their own, similar to what I do on YouTube, but they're entirely content based. There's no videos of me vlogging or just walking around and checking things out. It's very different from YouTube. It's entirely educational and content based. So if you like what you see, head over to fromthefield.farm and check it out. If you're seeing this video close to when this was posted, you are still within the sign up period. So I only open the membership 4 times a year, and I do it for 2-week intervals. So if you're seeing this video now, you are seeing it within the time that it's open, which is April 5th to April 19th, 2019. So head over to fromthefield.farm and check it out. All right, hope to see you in there. Enjoy. All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about CSAs, veggie box programs, and things like that. I'm going to be showing you guys a variety of different models, and this is part of our marketing series. I've actually been working a lot on this series. I'm very excited about it. There's a lot of good stuff, amazing content in here. This is all new content. Some of the stuff, like the farmers market presentation we did, was stuff I've done in the past that I added to, but some of these presentations you're going to get going forward, I've made specifically for you guys, and I've embellished on a lot of this stuff because there's a lot of good information in here, and sometimes I haven't explored these subjects as much as I'd like to. Like this presentation you're going to see right now on CSAs, totally new, and I've never really talked that much in length about CSAs, and I'm discovering there's many things to talk about in it. In this one, we're really going to be talking about the models, like different ways of running your CSA. We're not going to get into production specifics and all that, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you want to see some more types of crop planning type videos on those kinds of specifics, we can definitely get into them. But this one, this is part of our marketing series, and we're going to explore how these box programs work and different types of models out there for them. Enjoy. So let's jump into it. We're going to talk about CSAs in this one. We're going to look at some different types of models out there. What people are doing, some common ways of running a CSA, and let's just go for it. So a CSA is essentially a box program, right? Like this is from Stedfast Farm. These are just some seasonal examples of the types of produce that they have in the CSA. And the basic idea behind the CSA is that it's a seasonal box of produce coming from a farm, and it's typically one type of farm, but there's other types of models out there that we'll talk about. I'll touch on in the end of this video, and then we'll get into another type of model called distributors. We'll get into that, where they're aggregating product from other farms. But a CSA typically is producing all of this product itself. It's seasonal. It's a mix of what's coming off the farm at that current time. So what does CSA mean? It stands for Community Supported Agriculture, and there's actually some variations on that term. I think Community Shared Agriculture is another one. There's some different variations on the term itself. But the basic idea, from the core idea of the CSA, is that the members pay up front for a season's worth of produce. So by investing in a farm up front, they're securing, there's some security in the fact that they know that they're going to get these vegetables for this certain time period. And CSAs fluctuate depending on where you are and how long your growing season is, but there's different types of weeks in length that you would run a CSA. So I used to run a CSA on my farm, and it was for, I believe, 30 weeks. So it was from like early May until the end of October. Some people will do a CSA like that. People usually do shorter CSAs, I find. I did a particularly longer CSA. Maybe that's because I was more ambitious, but we ran a CSA for 30 weeks. What some people do is they'll have like their primary CSA in the main part of their growing season, so that if you're in a North American cold climate, say anywhere between a zone 4 and a zone 6, you might run your CSA, kind of spring till fall, or maybe it's summer till fall or something like that. And then sometimes people would run a winter CSA, and cold climate farms do this too. They'll start taking members in October, and then it'll be like a CSA that's basically like storage crops and microgreens and maybe high tunnel salad mixes and stuff like that they could put a variety of things together. And then sometimes they might have herbs that they grow in pots. They'll give you like a little pot of basil or something like that. They'll find ways to mix it up. And I've seen that done in cold climates. I've seen that done in Toronto, which is, I believe, a zone 4. That's a cold climate. And people in warmer climates do this too. Like at Stedfast Farm here, this is Stedfast that we're looking at this image of. They run I believe it's two 16-week CSAs. So they have one that runs from like spring until July, and they basically shut their farm down in the hottest time of the year, like July and August. And then they have another one that starts up in October and then goes for 3 months or 4 months from there. So there's different ways you can do it. But the basic idea is that people pay up front for the produce. Now, we are going to look at there are some variations to this, but this is the basic CSA model. This is where it all started and how it works, really. And usually when people pay up front for the produce, they do get some kind of kickback in that they're gaining some purchasing power from their dollar. So it's just like buying a stock or a bond. You get paid in some kind of dividend. It's the same idea. You're getting paid in produce, and because you're paying up front, you are going to get a bit more for your dollar. So that could be an extra 5%. It could be more. And when I show you some of the different models we're going to look at with different types of CSAs, you'll kind of see more what I mean with that. These are just kind of benefits that are for the members. People get to connect with like-minded people. So, sometimes your CSA is picked up at the farm, and people come and show up on Fridays and they pick up their box. That's how we used to do it with our CSA. And people get to know one another. And, we would do events sometimes too. Like we would have one farm event every year for the CSA members. It would be like kind of a dinner type thing, and bring people together and real sense of community, and people loved it. So the biggest advantage of a CSA to a farmer is actually one of the things that I didn't put in here, but we're talking about marketing in these, so I don't need to get into it too much. But getting paid up front is great on a farm because it helps cover all your initial seed and energy costs. Most farms, especially in cold climates, at the beginning of the season, there's no real production. For the most part, you might have a little bit of microgreens, you might have a few things here and there, some storage crops, but sales are generally down, and a season is sort of a bell curve for most farms in cold climates. They start small and they really peak out in summer, and then they taper down as they go into the fall and winter. So getting some money up front is great because it helps cover your initial seed purchases. You're going to be putting energy into your greenhouses to heat them, the nursery and all that. These are just upfront costs. And you've got costs like employees and stuff like that. Not a lot of production on the farm, but you got a lot of expenditures. This is why CSAs are fantastic for a farmer. And in a way, they act as an insurance policy. I'll give you one example. Our farm, when my farm was larger and I was partnered with my friend John Hofer, at the time, we had about collectively 2.5 acres, and we had this brutal rainstorm in one year. It was in mid-August, and it wiped out one of our fields. It was like our 2-acre field was wiped out. That field, which is now Wise Earth Farm, if you guys have seen any of my videos on YouTube, in the fall, I did some videos with Wise Earth Farm with John, and that field was completely wiped out. And during that time, like, it was about $30,000 of crop damage. And if it weren't for our CSA, you know, we wouldn't have had a lot of revenue at that time. Fortunately, we were a little diversified because we had plots of land in other places that didn't get damaged by the storm. And so we had greens and we were able to keep some things going. But that CSA money really acted like an insurance policy. And, you know, we were still able to put boxes together for our CSA members, but they were all very understanding that sometimes weather happens, and this is what it is. You know, a CSA is really all about an equitable share of the risks and the rewards of farming. That's really what it is. And so people partake, they become members of the farm, and so they share in those risks and rewards. And that's a big part of it. So that's how it acted as an insurance policy for us. You know, one thing I'll just touch on briefly here, possibly one of the biggest advantages to a CSA is the fact that farm planning is really easily, and we've talked about crop planning a bit in the past, in previous videos, but when you plan a CSA, it's really simple. And maybe I could do a whole video on this. Let me know what you guys think, and please leave comments and send me emails, Curtis at Curtis at fromthefield.farm, if you want to see that kind of thing, because I'd be happy to put something like that together. But the farm planning for a CSA is really easy, especially if you're doing a traditional model where it's a fixed amount of stuff in the boxes each week. You basically plan out all the weeks of your CSA. You know, what are the types of products you can have in those boxes at each type of week during the season. Multiply that by the amount of units, and then that translates back to your field production. And it does make planning a farm really easy because it's more or less static. There's not a lot of fluctuations based on demand like you would if you're selling to restaurants or maybe at a farmer's market, or you're selling to distributors or things like that. It's set, it's fixed. So that makes it really easy on the farmer's end. So let's look at some different ways you can run a CSA. So the classic model is kind of what I was alluding to here. You got a set price, you have a set number of weeks, and you have a fixed products. And so then the product can be either delivered, you're either packing these boxes or bags up in a truck or van and you're delivering them to the homeowners, or people are coming to the farm once a week and they're picking up their box. So it's up to you, and there's many different ways of doing that. Some really classic CSAs, like in fact Jean-Martin Fortier's original farm, La Grillinette, they do it in a really simple way. They basically put a box of each item. They set up almost like a farmer's market booth at a specific location, and they have all the tomatoes here, all the radishes here, all the greens here, so on and so forth. And it says you can pick one of each thing, and then the members just come and pick all their stuff, and then they take off. So that's even easier of a model. But the question is, are customers willing to do that? And as I go through these CSA models, I'm going to kind of outline or kind of touch on the fact that CSAs are actually trending downward right now. And the big reason for this is that they're not convenient. Unfortunately, they're not that convenient for the customer. Some people might tell you that they are, but for most people they're not, because you get a fixed amount of product. You got to go pick it up at a specific location. It's certainly not as easy as going to a grocery store, right? So at the end of the day, these kinds of things speak volumes as far as customer participation. And a lot of CSAs, they decline each year as far as their membership, and then they have to go out and find new members. And so that could be a whole other subject that we could get into another time. But we're trying to focus on sort of the marketing and how all this stuff works in this video. So with the classic model, you got a set price, and set weeks. So you might say we've got we got a 30-week CSA, and on average those boxes are worth $25 a box. And so 25 times 30 is $750. So it's $750 up front for 30 weeks of CSA boxes, and that product is fixed. So what we put in the box each week as the farm is what you get. And this is, again, why it's not super convenient, and some customers don't like it because some people don't like that. There are many people who love that. They love the idea of eating seasonally and locally, and learning to flex their diet based on what the season provides. There's something that's obviously romantic about that, something that is very connected to the land and the geographical area. There's many things that are great about it. There's even some evidence to show that eating seasonally like this has many health benefits. So there are people that are into that, and but that's basically how that model works. So that's the classic model. Right, so there's no variation in here. You get, if you don't pick up your box this week, tough luck. You don't get any money back. That's not how it works. It's set price, set weeks, product is fixed. That's the basics of this model. Now, another model that some farmers do, especially farmers that have active farmers markets, is they offer what's called a farm card. It's essentially a gift card. You go to Home Depot and you buy a gift card with a set amount of money on it, and you can use that gift card as you please. So the way the farm card works is you incentivize a larger purchase, and that gives a greater kickback. So you got your gift card, and the larger the amount, the greater the discount. So for example, you could offer you call it a $400 card, and you charge $380 for it. So they're getting 5% of extra value by giving you the money up front. And so this is neat for a farm, because in a way it's a little easier than running a CSA, because you don't necessarily have to have all this stuff planned. You have your growing season planned. You know more or less what you're going to plan and plant and harvest and all that, and when. But you don't have to stress so much about getting stuff in the boxes each week. You bring stuff to the farmer's market, and people who show up with their farm card buy the stuff, and it's that simple. So you can track the payments on the farm card digitally. You can do it in spreadsheets. There's probably some apps that even do this stuff now. I don't know for sure, but it's possible that programs like Square and Stripe might have features in there that you can actually track the person's gift card. Don't quote me on that for sure, but look into it, because I wouldn't be surprised if that technology existed now. And so, you incentivize, like I said, the larger the amount up front, the greater the savings you pass on to the customers. So you can offer a $600 card and charge $540. So now they're getting a 10% kickback of getting more value out of the money they're spending with you.